Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I want to do a quick size and design comparison on these three iPads so we can see how they've changed throughout the years. Now on the left we have the iPad 2. This is the oldest of all of them. This is released in 2011. We have the iPad 6 over here in the center, and the latest, the iPad 10 on the right side, which was released in 2022. When viewed from the back, these iPads share a lot of the same design features. So all of them have the Apple logo in the center over here. Although the one on the iPad 2 is black compared to the one on the iPad 6 and iPad 10, which is kind of like mirrorized. And if I get one of these and bring it closer, you can even see the reflection of my camera lens. The placement of the rear camera is also the same. So they're all on the top left side when viewed from the back. But you may notice that the iPad 10's camera lens does protrude compared to the others, which are flat. And that's because of the new improvements. So this is a way better camera, and it can also film videos in 4K. Plus, there's a microphone underneath for better audio recording. Now, on the iPad 6, we do have a microphone over here in the center. And on the iPad 2, there's also a microphone at the top. Another design difference is, if you look at the top, you'll notice that the iPad 2 and iPad 6 both have headphone jacks. But on the new iPad 10, that's now missing. Since the design is different, the sides are very thin now. And the sides have also been changed to this flat design compared to the curved design on these previous models. Now if we take a closer look, you'll notice that the curve on the iPad 6 is more steep compared to the curve on the iPad 2. And then we just get these and give you a side-by-side comparison so you can see what I mean. So here's what it looks like on the iPad 2 and on the iPad 6. Then on the iPad 10, we just have flat sides. Now moving on to the sides, you'll notice that the iPad 10 has this new connector over here, and this is called the Smart Connector for connecting to external accessories, which isn't present on these two other iPads. Moving on to the bottom, you'll notice that the iPad 10 has a USB-C port, the iPad 6 has a Lightning port, and this iPad 2 has this really old 30-pin port. So there's a huge variation with the charging standard. And aside from charging, this also allows you to connect more accessories with the USB Type-C port. So let me just zoom in over here so you can see what I mean. Moving on to the right side, everything is very similar, except that the iPad 2 still has this mute switch. So you can physically mute your iPad by flicking the switch, and they removed that feature later on. So if you notice, the iPad 6 doesn't have it, same with the iPad 10. Taking a look at the top, the iPad 10 is the only one that has speaker grills, since we now have speakers on either side, compared to the iPad 6 and iPad 2 that only have speakers at the bottom. And since there's no more home button on the iPad 10, we do have Touch ID in the power button, which is why the power button looks like this. It's way wider and larger compared to these other iPads. And you'll notice that the iPad 2 actually has plastic buttons compared to the iPad 6, where it's already metal buttons. Taking a look at all the iPads from the front, you'll notice a huge difference in the displays. So the iPad 2 has very chunky bezels on the side, the iPad 6 and the iPad 10 have thinner bezels, and these two over here on the left both have 9.7-inch displays, and the iPad 10 on the right is the only one that has a larger 10.9-inch display without the home button. Now I don't want to go into all the technical specifications of the displays, but if you look closely, you'll notice that the iPad 2 has the worst quality and the iPad 10 has the highest quality. And what I mean by quality is, if you bring it closer, you may notice some more pixels with the iPad 2 compared to the iPad 10. So that's the difference in quality. That's kind of hard to show it on camera, but never mind. What I find really interesting is, in terms of size, the iPad 2 is larger than the iPad 6, but the iPad 6 is also smaller than the iPad 10. So it's like the iPad in the middle is actually the smaller one compared to these two. So it used to be larger, then it shrunk down to a smaller size, and then grew larger again. But obviously, with new features and technology, so the larger screen is more worth it since we now have a larger display, and it's also the new design with flat edges. I also want to show you how well the camera improved between the iPad 6 and the iPad 10. And I want to show the iPad 2 since it isn't set up. But if you look at the iPad 6 over here, this is what the camera looks like. But with the iPad 10, we have this camera view over here. But you can also tap on this button over here to enable the ultra-wide camera and take a look at how wide the camera is. Now center stage is a new feature that's only available on new iPads, so it'll track your face as you move around. If I stand up, you'll see that it moves and pans. I can walk over here to the right, to the left, and the iPad will follow me around thanks to the new technologies and wide-angle camera. I can also sit back down over here and it will follow me just like that. Hope you enjoyed watching this video and found it useful. Feel free to leave a question, comment, or suggestion down below. And please like and subscribe for more, and it'll help support the channel. So, thanks for watching.